Minister Narendra Modi is on his first foreign visit after taking oath as the Prime Minister of India for the G7 summit to Italy. If you are on social media, you have already been hit with memes. But jokes apart, this summit is a very crucial one because of many factors. The Russia-Ukraine war, Middle East tensions and the situation in Gaza, rising global debt, India-China tensions and more. But what is the G7 summit? What is on its agenda this year and what does the G7 actually do? Let's understand. G7, as the name suggests, is a group of 7 top economies of the world. US, Germany, Japan, France, Canada, UK, Italy and the European Union. The G7 was created in 1975 and was launched by France and Germany in the name of World Economic Summit. More countries joined in and then it became the G7. Now, these 7 nations meet every year and discuss the global economic governance, international security and geopolitical issues. Russia was also a part of the bloc when it was called as the G8, but later it was suspended from the bloc. Now, it is essentially a very powerful group because it involves some of the biggest economies and has taken many decisions in the past, like imposing coordinated sanctions on Russia over the war with Ukraine and launched a major infrastructure investment program to counter China's BRI. And this time, the meet is being held in Puglia in Italy from the 13th of June to 15th of June. The Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni is hosting 7 economies and 12 guests to attend this meeting, and one of them is India too. Now, this is the highest number of guests invited in G7 so far. Other guests include Pope of Francis, King of Jordan, leaders from Ukraine, Brazil, Argentina, Turkey, UAE, Kenya, Algeria, Tunisia and Mauritania. In addition to this, the UN Secretary General, World Bank and IMF heads, the African Development Bank and OECD will also be present in the G7 summit. Now, what is in the agenda of this summit? Climate change is one of the top focuses because none of the G7 nations are currently on track to meet their 2030 emission reduction targets. While the G7 estimates 40 to 42% reduction in emissions, only 19 to 33% is achievable as per current policies. Africa is Meloni's top focuses as she aims to establish Italy as a crucial clean energy bridge between EU and Africa to decrease their reliance on Russian gas. The Mattei plan, focusing on substantial investments in Africa, is central to Meloni's foreign policies. Israel-Gaza tensions are also high priority. US President Joe Biden has proposed an immediate ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, the release of hostages, increased humanitarian aid to Gaza, and comprehensive peace agreement to ensure security of both Israel and Gaza. Ukraine conflict is central concern for the G7. Managing migration and supporting displaced populations, strengthening economies and addressing challenges in the Indo-Pacific region to counter China is also a part of the agenda. Ethical use of AI and establishing governance for AI will also be discussed, along with the use of sustainable energy and development, and cooperation in Africa and Mediterranean region will be in focus too. So now, what are the key things you should watch out for? Well, the focus is much on whether the leaders will finally reach an agreement so as to how to leverage profits from the Russian assets frozen in the West, which is estimated to be worth around 300 billion euros. China will be discussed at length, especially the concerns of overproduction and industrial overcapacity. US officials expect G7 to send a tough warning to smaller Chinese banks to stop assisting Russia in evading Western sanctions. Rising global debt is also another thing that is to be discussed, especially in emerging and developing nations. For a detailed video on how rising debt is a problem, click on the link in the description. So now, what does the summit mean for India? Well, AI is the key topic for India as there is an increasing focus in the field and on its application and potential. PM Modi is expected to hold talks with Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and the US President Joe Biden. Modi will also be joining the outreach session on 14, focusing on AI, energy, Africa, and Mediterranean. Since China will be one of the key topics, overproduction in China may impose a threat to India too. As per a recent report, India could be a dumping ground for China's overproduction, and this will be key for India. Food inflation is now a global and domestic issue which will also be discussed in the summit. On the last day of the summit, bilateral talks between world leaders will be held, and which is key for the Prime Minister as he engages with the world leaders in his first foreign trip post-elections. For more such news and views, keep watching ET Now.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.